They weren't built to win trophies, they were built to prove a point. Because in the 80s and 90s, Japan quietly created a breed of muscle cars so fast they embarrassed Ferraris, Porsches, and Corvettes, all while wearing family badges. But most of them never left the island. Some were banned, others misunderstood, and a few were simply too wild for the laws that tried to contain them. These are the 10 fastest Japanese muscle cars that could outrun sports cars, machines that broke the rules, rewrote performance, and defined an era. Number 10. Toyota Caldina GT4. At first glance, it was just a station wagon, practical, boxy, and as exciting as a tax return. But the Toyota Caldina GT4 hid a secret that made every gearhead grin. Under the hood sat the same 3S GTE turbo engine that powered the legendary Celica GT4, 260 horsepower of rally-bred fury paired with Toyota's all-wheel drive system straight out of WRC competition. It could haul a week's worth of groceries and hit 60 miles per hour in under 6 seconds. Toyota engineers had essentially created a family-friendly sports car and then quietly shipped it off to domestic markets, pretending it didn't exist. Overseas, it was a bureaucratic nightmare. The Caldina's emissions numbers were too spicy for regulators, and its right-hand drive setup meant it never officially made it to the US or much of Europe. Even countries like New Zealand temporarily restricted imports because its power-to-weight ratio was too extreme for a wagon. To the untrained eye, it was suburban camouflage. To enthusiasts, it was the ultimate undercover assassin, the kind of car that could pull up next to a Porsche, smile politely, and then vanish into the distance while still carrying a stroller in the back. Number 9. Mitsubishi FTO GP version R. In the mid-1990s, Mitsubishi was busy building rally legends. The Lancer Evolution was terrorizing gravel stages, and the Galant VR4 was rewriting traction physics. But tucked quietly in the corner of their lineup sat a little coupe called the FTO, and when engineers got bored, they decided to turn it into a riot. Enter the FTO GP version R, a front-wheel drive sports car that handled like it had no business doing so. It packed a screaming 2.0-liter V6 capable of revving to nearly 8,000 RPM, sending 197 horsepower through a razor-tight close-ratio manual gearbox. On paper, that didn't sound dangerous. On a mountain road, it was lethal, light, balanced, and twitchy in all the right ways. The steering was so sharp it felt wired directly to your fingertips, and the chassis tuning bordered on supernatural. This wasn't a car you drove. It was a car that demanded commitment. One mistake and it would bite back. It was Japan's answer to the Prelude Type S and Integra Type R, only meaner. But of course, it was too good for export. The GP version R failed US crash and emissions testing before it even reached the docks, and Europe didn't fare much better. Its unique engine setup and lack of standard airbags doomed it under bureaucracy. Only a handful slipped out through gray market imports. Today, the FTO GP version R is a ghost of the golden era, a car that didn't chase fame, but still earned its cult. It proved that you didn't need all-wheel drive or turbochargers to build a Japanese muscle car, just attitude, precision, and a little rebellion. Number 8. Nissan Pulsar GTIR. It looked like a student's first car, a compact hatchback with a hood scoop that seemed way too ambitious. But the Nissan Pulsar GTIR was anything but innocent. Underneath that modest shell lived a powertrain pulled straight from Nissan's Group A rally program, a 2.0-liter SR20D turbo engine pumping out 227 horsepower, feeding all four wheels through a rally-spec Atessa ETS all-wheel drive system. At barely 2,600 pounds, it had a power-to-weight ratio that could embarrass sports cars twice its price. The GTIR launched like it was shot out of a slingshot, hitting 60 miles per hour in around 5 seconds, a number that made early 1990s Ferraris nervous. Nissan built it to dominate the World Rally Championship, but the regulations and reliability gremlins had other plans. What remained was a road-legal rally bomb. It didn't care about comfort or refinement. It was pure, unfiltered aggression wrapped in a shopping cart disguise. In Japan, it became a cult favorite. In the US, it was banned before it even got the chance. Emissions hurdles, crash test costs, and right-hand drive complications kept it off American soil. That only made it more desirable. Today, the Pulsar GTIR is known as the Baby Godzilla. It proved that true muscle doesn't have to roar. Sometimes it just hisses through a turbo and disappears into the horizon before anyone realizes what happened. Number 7. Honda Civic Type R EK9. Before the Civic Type R became a global badge of honor, there was the EK9, the original, the purest, and the angriest hatchback Honda ever built. Released in 1997, it was engineered with one purpose: to prove that a front-wheel drive car could handle like a supercar, and sometimes even outrun one. Under its lightweight shell lived the legendary B16B VTEC engine, hand-ported and balanced straight from the factory. It revved to an ear-splitting 8,400 RPM and produced 182 horsepower from just 1.6 liters, numbers that bordered on witchcraft in the 1990s. Pair that with a close ratio gearbox, helical limited slip differential, and seam welded chassis, and you got a car that cornered with surgical precision. The EK9 wasn't built for comfort or show. There was no sound insulation, no luxury trim, just red Recaro seats and a steering wheel that begged to be abused on a mountain pass. On a racetrack, it danced around cars with twice the power. On city streets, it looked like a commuter's hatch. But regulators didn't see performance. They saw problems. The EK9 failed US crash safety and side impact standards, so it never made it stateside. Europe got a few through gray imports, but for most enthusiasts, it became a dream glimpsed only in magazines and Gran Turismo menus. Today, the EK9 Civic Type R stands as the definition of Japanese muscle done differently. Small, loud, and fearless. It didn't need brute force to win, just the courage to rev higher than anyone else dared. Number 6. Subaru Legacy RS Type R. Before the world fell in love with the Impreza WRX, Subaru had already built a monster. It just happened to wear a suit and tie. The Legacy RS Type R looked like a mid-level sedan for accountants, but under that conservative body lurked the DNA that would later dominate rally stages worldwide. It came equipped with a 2.0-liter turbocharged EJ20 engine, pushing out 217 horsepower through Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive system. The same formula that would make the WRX a legend, but the Legacy Type R was heavier, meaner, and tuned for endurance. In Group A rally trim, it was Subaru's secret weapon, clocking speeds that made even the Celica GT4 sweat. On the road, it felt like a contradiction. Quiet at idle, savage at full boost. It wasn't built to coddle, it was built to corner, grip, and keep pulling long after its rivals lost traction. And yet, the Legacy RS Type R was never officially exported beyond Japan. Its high emissions, limited production run, and left-hand drive restrictions sealed its fate as a domestic-only legend. What it left behind was a blueprint, the foundation that birthed Subaru's rally dynasty. Every WRX, STI, and rally win traces back to this unassuming sedan that proved Subaru could mix civility with savagery. Number 5. Mitsubishi Galant VR4. Before the Lancer Evolution became Mitsubishi's rally icon, there was the Galant VR4, the car that built the blueprint. On the surface, it was a tidy executive sedan, chrome trim, 4 doors, and all the politeness of a commuter car, but beneath that mild exterior was pure rally DNA waiting to explode. The Galant VR4 carried a 2.0-liter turbocharged 4G63 engine, the very same power plant that would later define the Evo series. It produced 240 horsepower and sent it through a sophisticated all-wheel drive and 4-wheel steering system, allowing it to grip corners with eerie precision. In its day, it could outrun cars wearing twice the price tags and thrice the ego. Born for the World Rally Championship, it dominated the late 1980s until Mitsubishi realized it needed something smaller and lighter. Thus, the Lancer Evolution was born, but the Galant remained the original street-legal rally weapon, a car that looked like a businessman but drove like a brawler. Unfortunately, when it came time for export, bureaucracy did what racing rivals couldn't: stop it. US emission standards and safety testing costs forced Mitsubishi to water it down. The full-fat Japanese version, the one with all the tuning magic, was locked away. Insurance companies in Europe didn't help either, labeling it high risk and pricing it into extinction. Yet enthusiasts found loopholes. The VR4 became the underground hero for drivers who wanted Evo power without Evo flash. It was quiet, brutal, and unapologetically fast, the first Japanese sedan that could humble European muscle without ever breaking a sweat. Number 4. Toyota Soarer 1JZ. While the rest of Japan was busy building turbocharged hooligans, Toyota decided to prove that sophistication could still smoke a supercar. Enter the Toyota Soarer 1JZ, a luxury coupe that looked like a Lexus, felt like a lounge, and accelerated like a missile. Under its long hood lived the legendary 1JZ, a 2.5-liter twin-turbo inline-six that produced 276 horsepower. Officially. Unofficially, it made more. Much more. The Soarer was built on the same platform as the Lexus SC300 and SC400, but it was the Japanese-only version that got the real power. While the Lexus sipped champagne, the Soarer chugged race fuel. It combined rear-wheel drive with silky smooth torque and enough electronic wizardry to make rival engineers blush. Active suspension, traction control, and a digital dash straight out of science fiction. It was Toyota's quiet rebellion against European grand tourers. On the highway, it could cruise in total silence until the turbos spooled and the politeness vanished. But emissions and safety regulations had no sense of humor. The Soarer's advanced electronics and high-strung tuning made it nearly impossible to federalize for export. It was banned outright in several countries for failing to meet safety and emission standards, ensuring it stayed a JDM secret handshake among enthusiasts. Today, it's remembered as Japan's gentleman muscle car, refined, restrained, and dangerously quick. The Soarer proved that brute force didn't need to shout. It could whisper in twin-turbo frequencies instead. Number 3. Mazda Cosmo 20B. In an era obsessed with V6s and turbos, Mazda quietly did something no one else dared. It built a 3-rotor engine and stuffed it into a luxury coupe. The result was the Mazda Cosmo 20B, a car so advanced it felt like a time traveler from the future. Released in the early 1990s, the Cosmo was Japan's technological moonshot. Its 2.0-liter triple-rotor 20BREW engine, boosted by twin turbos, produced 280 horsepower, but numbers didn't do it justice. It revved smooth as silk, delivered torque like an electric motor, and made a sound that could hypnotize any car lover. Inside, it was more spaceship than sedan. The Cosmo had GPS navigation before the rest of the world even knew what that meant, a touchscreen interface, while others still had cassette decks, and a cabin trimmed like a first-class lounge. It wasn't just fast, it was visionary. But vision doesn't always meet regulation. The 20B engine was too thirsty, too dirty, and far too complex for emissions boards to tolerate. North America said no, Europe said no, even Japan quietly admitted it was too ambitious. The Cosmo became forbidden fruit, admired from afar and owned only by the bold. Over time, it evolved from a curiosity into a cult symbol, proof that Mazda's engineers didn't follow trends, they invented them. The Cosmo 20B wasn't built for mass appeal, it was built for the dreamers who believed cars could be art, tech, and muscle all at once. Number 2. Mazda RX-7 Spirit R. By the early 2000s, the rotary engine was a dying breed, a mechanical legend fading under the weight of emissions and efficiency rules. So Mazda decided if this was gonna be the rotary's farewell, it would go out with a bang. That bang was the RX-7 Spirit R, the ultimate evolution of everything the RX-7 ever stood for. Under its long, flowing hood sat the iconic 13BREW twin-turbo rotary, officially rated at 276 horsepower, though owners knew the truth. It was easily more. With perfect 50-50 weight distribution, feather-like construction, and a chassis tuned to perfection, the Spirit R didn't just turn corners, it danced through them. Every input, throttle, steering, braking, felt telepathic, like the car could read your mind before you moved. But regulators didn't share the romance. The rotary's oil-burning habits and complex emissions made it impossible to sell in North America. Even Canada banned it outright. Japan built just over 1,500 examples, and then silence. The Spirit R became both a tombstone and a triumph. The final pure RX-7, the last street-legal twin-turbo rotary ever made. Today, it's revered not just as a performance car, but as an art form, the last mechanical poem of Mazda's rotary era. The Spirit R proved that Japanese muscle could be graceful, dangerous, and heartbreakingly beautiful all at once. Number 1. Nissan Stagea 260 RS Autech. Some cars were born to break rules. The Nissan Stagea 260 RS Autech was one of them. At first glance, it looked like a grocery getter, a family wagon designed for school drop-offs and Costco runs. But under that unassuming body was the heart of a Skyline GTR. Nissan's tuning division, Autech, took the humble Stagea wagon and turned it into something utterly absurd. They swapped in the RB26 twin-turbo inline-6, paired it with a 5-speed manual gearbox, Brembo brakes, and the Atessa ETS all all-wheel drive system straight from the R33 GTR. The result, a 3,800-pound wagon that could hit 60 miles per hour in under 5 seconds, while carrying a family of 5 and their luggage. It didn't just perform like a GTR, it was one, just wearing a different suit. Inside, you got bucket seats, GTR-style gauges, and enough cargo space to haul half a workshop. On the outside, it was practically invisible, unless you noticed the discreet 260 RS badge. Regulators had no idea what to do with it. It wasn't classified as a sports car, yet it outperformed most of them. It wasn't a family wagon, yet it had 4 doors and a hatch. Customs officials were baffled, and most countries banned it from import entirely. That only fueled the legend. For years, the Stagea 260 RS remained Japan's ultimate sleeper, the forbidden GTR you could take to the hardware store. Today, it's worshipped by collectors and JDM purists as one of Nissan's boldest creations, proof that true performance doesn't need flash or fame, just the courage to exist. It was the final evolution of Japanese muscle, disguised in plain sight, a family car that could destroy supercars, then pick up the kids afterward.